Giving advice. So sometimes when people around us are struggling, we step in and we give them some helpful advice. Sometimes this is great, it's just what they need. But other times it really isn't, particularly if they haven't asked for it. If they've just said, I'm struggling, and our natural response, or not necessarily our natural response, but our learned response is to step in and to try and fix it as soon as possible with some handy advice. Now, the problem with this is sometimes what the person needs is not advice, but they need empathy, understanding, to be seen, all this kind of stuff. So that's one problem, is they're not getting the need. They're not asking for information or suggestions, they're asking for empathy, really, even if that's not explicit, because they may not have learnt that that's their need. That can happen. But also the trouble with advice is you've got to really be an expert, right? Okay, so someone who's got a problem, maybe a complex problem, is aware of all the different factors and all the different variables. And if they tell you that they're struggling and you step in with advice, it's possible that you don't really understand the complexities of the situation. So your advice is going to be not particularly helpful. It may be that you stumble upon something that the person hasn't thought of, and that can be really helpful, but not necessarily. And I think this is a problem in our culture. In nonviolent communication, they called it the fix-it jackal mentality. And you see it everywhere, on TV, films. Anyone who's struggling, someone who wants to help them comes and sits down beside them and says some really wise thing that they haven't thought of, and then it's like the problem's solved and it's gone away. But unfortunately, that's not really how real life works. In real life, if people are struggling with difficult emotions, they're not just going to be talked out of them. And really the most helpful thing you can do is to just sit and listen, to show that you care. Maybe ask some kind of clarifying questions about their feelings and needs, that kind of thing. And if something occurs to you, maybe even before giving the advice, say, I wonder if you want some advice, because it may be that that's just not where they're at. In my experience, sometimes if I've got something going on with my emotions and it's very much kind of felt, embodied, like emotional difficulty, whether it's like grief or, I don't know, depression or anger or something like that, then actually the information or the advice that people give me that's based on kind of understanding, kind of like head stuff, it's just so incongruent to where I'm at. It's like I'm alive with this really strong emotion and someone's kind of giving me this kind of conceptual stuff. It can actually be quite painful. So it's an interesting one. We're not necessarily taught this stuff in school, but I think it's really important to consider. So, if someone needs heart medicine, metaphorically, and you're giving them head medicine, they may be like, it's the wrong medicine, and they may not receive it very well, and that can cause problems. So yeah, giving advice, before you do, just check maybe, if a friend or a family member is experiencing some difficult emotions, before giving advice, before trying to fix it, first of all, ask yourself, am I willing? Am I really resourced enough? Am I willing? Am I able to help this person? Because if you're not, then you're going to be impatient and you're going to try and fix it too quickly. And if you are, and you really want to help, then I suggest going in with empathy, going in with understanding, just kind of really being for them, showing that you care. And then if you have some suggestions to make, then offer those, but not as like the first port of call. So that's it really, my thoughts on giving advice to people who are struggling. Thanks for watching.